Narcissists suffer from emotional impermanence. What this means is they have short duration emotions. You see, emotion is necessary for a person to experience themselves in full. And what they need in terms of narcissistic supply is a counterpart, a reflection. And so what it is that somebody whose emotional development was arrested in infancy is a person that has emotional impermanence, a person who can feel good or bad rapidly based on the actions or the presence or the disappearance of the mother. And so the narcissists living with emotional impermanence require ongoing engagement from others in order to maintain their own emotional sense of self. And they can slip and fall out of their own experience and become very confused and not know who to be when they get gray rocked. You see, the reason why they have to trigger people, or the reason why they're so controlling, is they have to control others in order to maintain themselves. That in the world of the narcissist, you let them down. They devalued you because when you got in a relationship and you idealized them, they felt really great about themselves based on the reflection they got from you. When you start to slip emotionally, which is inevitable, right? You're a normal person. You're going to have a bad day at work, or you're just going to, not necessarily be in the euphoria of this new soulmate relationship. When your emotions start to deviate, theirs start to deviate. And they could get very uncomfortable, feel very disappointed, because their entire life, the way in which they've experienced other people is merely through the emotions that they feel as a result of the interactions with others. That they are unaware that they are missing an entire universe of emotions. That they don't have paternal and maternal emotions. They don't have any sense of communal existence. And for this reason, they don't form normal attachments. They only attach based on the supply that they get. If the supply changes, the emotional affect of that relationship is less viable to them, or less pleasant, or doesn't give them the ability to resume being their positive self. That's why they love new relationships. They love new relationships because the way that person sees them is going to affect the way they see themselves. And they haven't screwed that relationship up yet. And so they get to be this really amazing person once again. And in their illusion or their deluded realities, they attribute their own collapses to other people. The lack of self-awareness that most of them have is that they actually live in a reality where you let them down, where you changed first, where the way you felt about them slipped, that they don't understand that they have emotional impermanence. They don't understand that the orientation of their emotionality is merely for their own needs, the same emotionality that exists in infants. Infants only need the emotions that generate concern from the mother. They cry and they smile. Very simple external expressions in order to maintain getting their needs met. An infant doesn't need to have maternal instincts or paternal instincts or to have any real empathy when it comes to others. They don't have empathy. You often don't have empathy either. So emotional empathy, cognitive empathy are, very different. But for most part, just because your empathy has emotion doesn't mean it's empathy at all. Empathy is not really putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Because if you put yourself in someone else's shoes, then you presume that that person feels the way you would feel. And then if you're making decisions based on projecting yourself onto a narcissist, then you are going to make disastrous mistakes. Real empathy only exists when you're present. It doesn't exist by thinking. It doesn't exist by forming an idea about their feelings or imagining being them. That's cognitive empathy plus projection. Real empathy would be in the moment. Someone cries, you feel sad. That's empathy. It doesn't require thinking. It doesn't require any understanding. It is the understanding. It is like you hear the words spoken, you feel the energy. It gives you the ability to understand that person and where they're coming from. It doesn't necessarily involve anything actionable. Having empathy doesn't necessarily compel you to do anything. You watch a movie and you get emotions activated by it. It doesn't mean you have to go and help Superman or do anything about it. So the stuff that people do in relationships, the people-pleasing empathy, and I feel so bad, and the guilt, feeling guilty because someone's suffering is not empathy at all. And so we use this word empathy and people calling themselves empaths. It's like, no. Being a hypervigilant people pleaser that projects onto other people as well as idealizes them and uses your ruminations to explain away bad behaviors to preserve somebody as a good person when they're clearly not is a complete lack of empathy. And so the empaths that are walking around like deers in the headlights are not empathetic people. They're completely dissociated projection monsters that do not have the ability to see the difference between someone that you could call evil and someone that you should call a soulmate. And so just throwing that out there, yeah. So again, in review, narcissistic supply, merely just related to the fact that they have emotional impermanence and they cannot suspend themselves in any consistent way of experiencing themselves. They need things external. They need belief. They need validation for victimhood. They need verification of their success. They need constant reaffirmation because their own emotional states in terms of how they feel about themselves are not something that they can maintain and regulate on their own. And they also have all that trauma inside, and it's not pretty. So keep that in mind.